Hey everyone, Dan here. How you doing this Tuesday night? I just finished up an appearance on the new comic show with Nick Barucci over on the Comic Book Shopping Experience, or the EXP or Experience, or it's a fun channel. It's basically an entire streaming service dedicated to promotion of comic books, whether it's in comic shops, getting you to go over to the comic world. So, highly recommend going over there. They're also brought to you by the comic shop locator service. And so, if you're looking for a comic shop in your area, go to the comic shop locator website and put in your zip code, and they will tell you all the shops near you. Now, like I said, I just finished talking with Kyle and Nick over there for about an hour, and made myself a nice big cup of hot chocolate. Tasty. And now I thought I'd come over here and answer one of the big questions going on with WandaVision right now, which is, what is up with that guy? Acting director Tyler Hayward. Why is he so douchey? Why does Darcy call him a dick? Well, he's been acting like one, I got to tell you. So I thought I would do kind of a breakdown, give you guys a good chance to see what's up with the guy and whatnot. So thought I would hop in here and show you what's going on. Getting a little technical snafu going on here. Let me see if I can work this out. Hide that, and there we go. So feel free to jump in, comment if you have any questions on this or the rest of the show. I'll be happy to answer them. So if you're on right now, join me, and let's see what we got going here. Otherwise, let's take a look at Tyler Hayward, Sword acting director. Now, this is a new character for the MCU, and he's being played by Josh Stamberg, who you might recognize from Nashville, Longmire, or The Affair. And if you spent any time looking at social media coverage of WandaVision, you'll get the idea that a lot of people seem to think that either he's the big bad or he works for the big bad. And I got to tell you, I'm not seeing it. But before I explain why, let me break it down. Now, we first meet Hayward after the emotional opening where you have Monica Rambeau returning from the blip to discover that an empty bed that she thinks her mother's supposed to be in, Maria Rambeau, who we met in Captain Marvel. Well, it turns out that Maria, who just had cancer surgery and recovered, ended up having the cancer come back 2 years later and her passing away. Monica was gone all that time because she was one of the people snapped away by Thanos. So she lost, I don't remember if it's 2 or 3 years with her mother, which is absolutely devastating. I personally lost my father back in October, and I cherished every day I had with him. And if I suddenly found out I could have had 2 more years and didn't, that would break me. That would just be rough. But Monica rolls with it pretty well. She ends up going back to work after about 3 weeks and returns to Sword. And that's where we first meet Hayward, because what happens is Monica comes back. She has a meeting with him to kind of get checked in and back to work, and goes up, uses her key code, and it doesn't work. Security guard calls her over. She tries to explain, I work here. And he's like, well, if you did, your key card would work. And of course, Hayward pops up at that moment to save her from the embarrassment. And I got to tell you, that's a total power move on his part, because he knew she was coming. He knew she was coming back to work, and that she was going to let him, or he was going to let her go back to work. So why didn't he just activate the card? Now, he put himself outside the door around the same time that she'd be showing up. That just is a little reminder of, hey, I'm in charge now and you've been gone, so you answer to me. And that just put us on the wrong foot with Director Hayward right there. And they do point out that he's acting Director Hayward, and that there was a good chance that Monica should be in that job, since it used to be her mother. and that she was being groomed to replace her. So will we see that by the end of the season? Maybe. I got a feeling that Hayward is not long for this job. But again, we'll get into that. Now, once they get inside, he catches Monica up on the fact that they've changed a lot since she left. They're not doing as much observation and research, and they're doing more creative stuff like creating AI because, as he puts it, there's threats from outer space now. And her response is there's always been threats from outer space and allies. So right there you get the difference in feelings, that she looks at the outer space as more of an adventure. There's bad guys, there's good guys. It's a whole new world to explore. And he looks at it as that's where the bad guys come from. That's where the aliens who invaded New York come from. That's where Thanos came from. That's a bad place. And we need to come up with stuff to defend us against that. And that's how I think he looks at his job at SWORD. Now, also we find out that she can't go back into the field. They're not doing any missions anymore, flying any missions anymore. They've lost some astronauts. And of course, everybody assumes that has to do with the Fantastic Four. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Everybody's trying to squeeze Fantastic Four and the X-Men and everything else into this series. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a little more self-contained. There could be teases, but I don't think they're just going to rip open everything in this one series. It's more likely to be the setup to, of course, Spider-Man 3 and then Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, where they may do the bigger rip opens, being in a big feature film. But I think here they're just going to do more setup than they are big reveals. Keeping in mind the spoilery reveal that happened at the end of episode 5. Now, Monica gets sent to New Jersey because she's grounded. It was her mom's protocol. She's not allowed to go back into the field after coming back from the blip. And where her mom didn't know she was coming back, she believed Monica was coming back. And that shows a lot of strength for Monica. For Maria to believe that is pretty cool, and I think that's going to help Monica in a long ways. But so Monica heads out to meet with Jimmy Woo, and we know what happens there. She goes up to the barrier after the drone disappears and gets pulled inside. And Jimmy, of course, calls backup. Director Hayward comes out. Darcy finds the signal. And at the point we realize we're dealing with Wanda and Vision is when Hayward goes haywire and immediately asks to head back to base. Now, while he's there, he's kind of butting heads with Jimmy and, ordering, through the whole time that he's there, he's in charge, but he's not really listening to other people. And he butts heads with Darcy. He butts heads with Jimmy. But when she mentions the radiation that's coming from the Maximoff anomalies, what they end up calling it, or the hex, he knows when she refers to it that it has to do with the original Big Bang, that this is the creation of the universe, and that's where this radiation comes from. So obviously, he knows some of what's going on. Now, after episode 4, we only meet him in episode 4. And after episode 4, that's when all the chatter started that, he might be Mephisto. Okay. I like Josh Stamberg, but you don't cast Josh Stamberg as Mephisto. Just like, you cast Josh Brolin as Thanos, you cast Lee Pace as Ronan. You don't cast Josh Stamberg as some the Mephisto level character. It just doesn't happen. Nothing personal, Josh. I'm sorry, but so I don't think he's that level, and I don't think he's personally in with whoever the big bad is, if there's a big bad. I think he's just a corrupt bureaucrat. And let me tell you why. We get that more in episode 5. We return and we see him starting off this briefing. And he lets Jimmy kind of give Wanda's background. but he's leading questions like, well, wasn't she first working with Hydra? Didn't she first attack, about Wanda, first attack the Avengers? And Jimmy's like, until she gained their trust and started working with them. And at one point he even goes, does she have one of those nicknames or code names? And he's like, no. It's like, none at all? No. Now, I don't know if he knows she has one that hasn't come up yet, or if he wants one so he can refer to her as that instead of Wanda to vilify her. But he spends the whole meeting trying to vilify her, including to the point referring to her as the principal victimizer. Refers to her doing terrorist activities, and anytime someone tries to defend her, like Monica or Jimmy, he brushes it off. He is going out of his way to make Wanda either the villain here, or he needs her to be. He needs her to seem like the villain. And that's where it gets interesting when he flips on the video. The video is from 9 days before whatever day they're on. And if you think of the timeline, Monica came back 3 weeks, and she comes out, and I think she's only in there for a day, inside the hex for about a day. So we're maybe 3 days in, 2 or 3 days into this anomaly or the event. So a few days before all of this started, he shows a video showing Wanda basically storming or invading a Sword base and taking the Vision's body. Now, we don't get a lot of good footage of it. We see her breaking in. We see her going to where the body is, and that's about it. And immediately it comes up that Jimmy brings up that not only did Vision have a living will, which I find fascinating, saying that he did not want to be revived or turned into a weapon, but also that it would go against Articles Section 36B of the Sokovia Accords. It's nice that Jimmy knows. When did Jimmy become the end-all and be-all of knowledge when it comes to superheroes? He knows the Sokovia Accords backwards and forwards enough to pick out a section. He's the one that gives the update on that. And you'll notice that through the whole thing, everybody's talking like they were all there when the Avengers fought Thanos in Endgame, and could say, oh no, Scarlet Witch or Wanda could have beaten him. Oh, Captain Marvel could have beaten him. That just seems kind of weird for me, and I'm hoping we'll get a better explanation on that. But let's stick with Hayward for now. He says that he had to get permission to show the video. Now, he's the director of S.W.O.R.D. Who's above him? Is it like the World Security Council that we got a glimpse of in the Avengers, the first Avengers movie? We haven't spent a lot of time with them. So I don't know if they're still players or not. Did he have to reach out to Nick Fury to get permission? So who's he getting permission from, and why didn't he bring this up immediately? When he looked in and saw WandaVision, hey, she took that body. Seems really skeptical, or kind of sus to me that he had to go and then come back and get permission to show that footage. And then the other thing is, in the footage, the Vision is all cut up into pieces. Were they experimenting on him? Were they trying to turn him into a weapon? Were they breaking the Sokovia Accords? Going against the Vision's will? Is that why Wanda broke him out? Did Wanda come to them and say, I want the Vision's body. I've been gone for 5 years. I hear you have it. Why does S.W.O.R.D. have it? Vision's body was in Wakanda when he died. How did it end up with S.W.O.R.D.? I think the Black Panther would have hung on to it, or Black Panther got dusted. I thought Wakanda would have hung on to it, but somehow it ends up with S.W.O.R.D., and Scarlet Witch goes to get the body. It's obvious, well, we'll get to that, but it does seem like they've known each other or they've met before. So that strikes me as odd. But then as the thing goes, as the episode goes on, Monica realizes that you can send tech in as long as tech as era appropriate text, it won't get changed. So they send a drone in with the idea of making communication with Wanda. But old Hayward over here, the picture is over here for me, it's over here for you, so that's why I keep pointing over there. Hayward over here, he ends up having a missile in the drone. And when Wanda doesn't respond to Monica reaching out to her, he tells him to take the shot. Freaks Monica out because she had no idea the drone was even armed. Next, and of course, it doesn't work. And a minute or two later, you have Wanda walking outside of the anomaly, carrying the drone and throwing it at Hayward's feet and telling them to leave her alone. And they're like, you have hostages. And they're like, and Monica's like, look, I'm an ally. Tell me what you need and I'll get it for you. We can make this work. And Wanda's like, I have everything I need and you're not taking away from me again. And there's all these laser points on her from guns. All the soldiers are pointing guns with the laser finders. And she, in a total Magneto move, she has all the guns trained on Hayward instead, which freaks him out. And I would too. If suddenly all my old soldiers were then pointed at me, that would have been, but she doesn't have him pull the trigger. And I think that's key. But that freaks Hayward out. Now, you get the impression from the, and then she goes back in, but you get the impression from the meeting that Wanda and Hayward have already met, which is why I think she had already gone to SWORD and asked for the body and was denied. Now, let's get to the facts here. So what is the deal with Hayward? I don't think he's the big bad of the series. Definitely not. Do I think he's in league with the big bad? It's possible, but I don't see it as likely. I don't think he's even evil. I think he's been up to some stupid stuff and is on the verge of getting caught. I think he was using the Vision's body to build, well, let's backtrack here. If he does look at SWORD as the line of defense against alien invasion, well, that's similar to Tony Stark, who thought the same thing after the invasion of New York, that he needed to protect the world. And what did Tony do? He built Ultron. He started building Ultron, and then when they got the Mind Stone and the AI that was inside of it, they added it and ended up with Ultron. Now, do I think Director Hayward would go, I know, let's rebuild Ultron? But Ultron led to Vision. So if you built the idea, or if you went for the idea of the suit of armor around the world, but with the Vision's AI in it instead of Ultron's, then you've got a peacekeeping or a defensive setup, the type of thing that SWORD seems to be working on. So he gets Vision's body. He goes against the Vision's wishes, starts trying to recreate the AI to build his own suit of armor around the world, as Tony put it. I could see that. I could see that being his motivation. And the problem is that he did it for 5 years or 3 years, whatever it is, since he's been in charge, with no worries about being caught. And then suddenly Wanda returns and Monica returns. So you've got the person who wants the Vision's body back and comes and asks for it and then takes it. And then you've got the person who should be in his job, who is going to most likely find out what's going on. I don't think he sent her to New Jersey because he thought something was going on there. I think it was to get her out of the way. I think he didn't think much of the assignment and just wanted her out of the building again so he could work more on cleaning things up. And it just happened to tie in. Now he gets an opportunity to take a shot at Wanda. He takes it because Wanda gone, that makes his life a lot easier. Also, vilifying Wanda, that makes his life easier if she seems like the bad guy. But no one stopped and asked, well, why was Vision in pieces? What were you guys doing to him? Why wasn't he in a morgue? Why was he on exam tables. So I think that's what's going on with Hayward. I think that he's going to do his best to cover his ass. And if it means taking out Wanda, he will do it. And if it means taking out Monica or the two of them at the same time, he's probably going to do that too. That's this character. At least that's how it reads to me. Like I said, I don't see him as being tied to the magic. I don't see him working with demons. I see him as being a bureaucrat that started on the idea of protecting the Earth through using the Vision's AI, and it just got out of hand. And now he's, he doesn't have the moral compass to just admit he did something wrong. He's just going to keep doing and making it worse until he gets caught or someone dies. So he doesn't have any, I don't think he has anything to do with causing the anomaly, because he was adamant about trying to find out what was going on in the anomaly. Because, he sees Vision and Wanda in the television feed, but he doesn't know what's going on with Monica. He has no idea what's going on inside. He sends the guy in through the sewers. Once it became obvious what happened, that Monica disappeared and that Vision and Wanda were in the thing, then he became very interested. So those are my thoughts on Mr. Hayward. I think we will see more of him, like I said, maybe trying to take out Wanda or Monica if he gets a chance. And I see him more as an antagonist for Monica than I do for Wanda. Sword is the antagonist for Wanda. He's more of a direct antagonist for Monica. So, again, don't think he's there's no way he's Mephisto. I don't think he's in league with the big bad. I do think that he's made a lot of bad choices and that he's pretty much just a douche who's trying to cover his ass, and the typical corporate villain or government villain. That's it. I don't think there's anything more there than that. I could be wrong. This has been an interesting show, and we still got 4 more episodes, and they're throwing a lot of weird stuff at us, like the special guest or the cameo at the end or the appearance at the end. Who knows where they're going next, but that's my gut feeling on Director Hayward. So thanks for tuning in. Hey, do me a favor. Hit the like and subscribe buttons wherever you're seeing this. Hit the like button if you're on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe, hit the bell so you'll know when I have new videos up. If you're on Twitch, do the same things over there, please. I'm trying to build this site. I want to get as many viewers as possible. So if you share the word or spread the word, I'd appreciate it. Hey, Ethan, how you doing? So that's my call on it. So you guys have a good night. I will be back. I'll probably do another video later this week. We're not going to do a broadcast on Sunday night because of Valentine's Day. Dan wants to stay married, and the rest of us want to see our significant others, and etc. So, but I will probably pop on and do another video, and I will definitely recap episode 5 on probably Saturday. My best friend's birthday is Friday. I'll probably be spending most of the time with her. So Saturday, I will give the review of episode 6, and we'll go from there. But again, please like and subscribe. I hope you all have a great night, and we'll talk soon. Enjoy.